You're running the Silent. It is the final boss. You think you've got a good deck going. Then this happens. Yeah, we've all been there. Hey everyone, welcome back to Tiger and Tigress Gaming. I'm Tiger, she's Tigress, and today we are saving you from that exact moment right there. This is your complete beginner's guide to winning your first run with the Silent in Slay the Spire 2. Now, the Silent is one of the most fun characters in the game, but she plays completely differently from the Ironclad. If you've been trying to punch your way through the Spire the same way you did with the Ironclad, that's probably why you keep dying. The Silent doesn't punch, she dances, she weaves, she poisons. She throws 17 daggers at your face before you even knew she was in the room. And once it clicks, absolutely chef's kiss. So let's break it all down. What makes the Silent tick? What builds actually work for beginners? And how to stop dying on the last boss? We've got a lot to cover, so let's get into it.
Before we dive into specific builds, let's talk about who the Silent actually is and what makes her unique. The Silent is the rogue of Slay the Spire 2. She is fast, she is sneaky, and she has access to some of the most creative and satisfying combos in the entire game. She starts every combat by drawing 2 extra cards on turn 1. That's thanks to her starting relic, the Ring of the Snake. 2 extra cards might not sound like a lot, but in a game where tempo is everything, starting with 7 cards instead of 5 is a massive head start. Now, the Silent has 3 signature mechanics you need to know about. Number 1, Sly cards. Sly is a brand new mechanic introduced in Slay the Spire 2. Certain cards have the Sly keyword, which means when you discard them, they activate for free. You don't even need to spend energy, they just go off. This makes the Silent absolutely love discarding cards. The more you discard, the more free value you get. Number 2, Shivs. Shivs are zero-cost attack cards that exhaust on play, meaning once you use them, they're gone for the rest of the fight. They deal a modest 4 damage on their own, but here's the thing, they cost nothing, and when you can generate 5, 10, 15 Shivs in a single turn, that's a lot of free damage adding up very fast. Number 3, Poison. Poison is damage over time. Each stack of poison deals 1 damage at the start of the enemy's turn, then decreases by 1. Stack enough of it, and enemies just melt over time, while you hide behind a wall of block. The best part, poison inflicts HP loss before the enemy's block, so it kind of ignores block. The enemy can have 100 block on them, and your poison still ticks down their HP.
Now here's the big idea that ties all of this together. The Silent is not about playing one big card. She's about playing as many cards as possible every turn. The more cards you play, the more effects chain together, the more damage you deal, and the more you set up your next turn. Think of her like a jazz musician. Every card you play is a note, and a great turn is a whole song. To keep the music going, you want a constant engine of drawing cards, discarding cards, and chaining effects. That's why certain cards are almost always good to pick up with the Silent, no matter what build you're going for. Let me quickly run through the MVPs. Follow through. Early game AoE damage. Hits all enemies and applies weak. Incredibly useful in those Act 1 mob fights where you're facing multiple enemies and just need to clean house fast. Piercing Wail. Removes strength on all enemies for 0 energy. Incredibly useful when an enemy is about to deal a multi-hit attack. Prepared. 0 cost, draw 1, discard 1. That's it. But on a discard-heavy or Sly-heavy build, the fact that it costs nothing and triggers card interactions, incredibly powerful. Keep an eye on this one.
Acrobatics. 1 energy, draw 3, discard 1. This is your engine fuel. Drawing 3 cards is huge, and the discard can activate Sly effects or thin a bad hand. Blur gives you block that doesn't go away at the end of your turn. Early in a run, when you're getting smacked around, a bit of persistent block can save your life. Well-laid plans. a power card that lets you retain up to 2 cards at the end of your turn. This is incredible for setting up a big combo. Hold the right cards over to next turn and execute a perfectly sequenced attack. Adrenaline. 0 cost, gain 1 energy and draw 2 cards. This is one of the best cards in the Silence entire kit. It's free, it gives you energy and draws. There's almost never a bad time to play it. Expose. 0 cost debuff. Removes the enemy's block and applies vulnerable, making them take 50% more damage from attacks. Great, now that you know the foundation, let's talk about your 3 main build paths.
The Silent has 3 main archetypes in Slay the Spire 2. Archetype 1, Poison. Stack debuffs, let the damage tick, hide behind block. Slow burn, but incredibly satisfying when it clicks. This is our top recommendation for beginners, and we'll do a full deep dive in the next section. Archetype 2, Shiv. Generate a mountain of 0 cost attack cards, buff their damage, win by drowning enemies in 1,000 paper cuts. This is flashy, it's fast, and once you understand the rhythm, it's genuinely one of the most powerful builds in the game. Archetype 3, Sly and Discard. Build a deck that constantly cycles cards, triggers Sly effects for free, and chains together actions your opponent never sees coming. It's a fantastic complement to Poison and Shiv decks, but as a standalone build, I'll be honest with you, it's the hardest to build consistently. You need very specific cards to show up, and the Spire is not always generous about that. If you start finding those pieces, lean in, but don't go searching for a pure Sly build on your very first run. You'll find yourself mid-Act 2 with a deck that doesn't quite do anything. Our recommendation, start with Poison. Get comfortable with the Silence rhythm. Then try Shiv once you've got a feel for the game, and add Sly elements when the cards show up naturally. Don't force it. Now, let's go deep on each build.
Here's the pitch for the Poison build in 1 sentence. Apply poison, don't die, win. That's genuinely it. You are not trying to outdamage the enemy in 1 flashy turn. You are slowly, methodically coating them in green goo until their health bar hits 0. The beautiful thing about poison is that it ignores block. Once those stacks are applied, it doesn't matter how much block the enemy builds up. They are dying. It's inevitable. But here's the catch, and this is what trips up a lot of beginners. Poison is slow. Early in a fight, your damage output is tiny. That means you need a solid defense engine to survive those early turns while your poison ramps up. Do not neglect your block cards. This is rule number 1 for poison builds. All right, let's build the engine. Noxious Fumes, 1 energy power card. At the start of each of your turns, apply 2 poison to all enemies. This is your best friend, your anchor, your reason for living. Once this is on the board, every single turn automatically poisons everything in the room. You don't have to do anything, just survive and the damage happens. If you see Noxious Fumes in a card reward, you take it. No debate, it goes in the deck. Deadly Poison, 1 energy skill. Apply 5 poison to an enemy. Upgraded, it applies 7. This is efficient, reliable poison stacking. In the early game, before Noxious Fumes is online, this is how you get poison onto the enemy fast. In the mid and late game, it combines with Noxious Fumes to stack poison rapidly. Poison Stab, 1 energy attack. Deal 6 damage and apply 3 poison. Upgraded, deal 8 damage and apply 4 poison. Simple, clean, effective. It does 2 things at once, deals direct damage and adds poison. In Act 1, when your poison engine isn't fully built, cards that do both are incredibly valuable. Great to have. Accelerant, 2 energy power. At the end of your turn, your poison deals damage a second time this turn. Accelerant is arguably the most powerful card in a poison build. Let that sink in. If an enemy has 20 poison stacks, they take 20 damage when their turn ends. With Accelerant active, they take 20 damage twice. That's 40 damage in 1 round. If that enemy has 40 stacks, they take 80 damage.
This card turns your slow, patient poison build into a late-game monster. Upgrade it as soon as possible. Situational cards. Haze, a Sly card that applies poison when discarded. 0 energy if you discard it, 3 energy to play normally. If you've got a discard engine running with cards like Acrobatics or Prepared, Haze is sneaky good. Corrosive Wave applies 2 poison to all enemies whenever you draw a card. If you have a strong draw engine and are cycling your deck quickly, Corrosive Wave is a powerful addition. And Venom, a power card whenever you deal unblocked damage, apply 1 poison. This gets truly wild if you pair it with Outbreak, which lets you chain damage for every 3 times you apply poison on the enemy. The key lesson here is don't just take every poison card you see. Look at what your deck already does well and pick the cards that amplify it.
The relics that make this build shine. Snecko Skull. Whenever you apply poison, apply 1 additional poison. Every poison card just got upgraded for free. Noxious Fumes now applies 3 per turn instead of 2. Deadly Poison applies 6 instead of 5. Stack this with Noxious Fumes and enemies are drowning before they know what hit them. Unsettling Lamp. The first time each combat you play a card that debuffs an enemy, double its effect. That first deadly poison you play, it applies 10 stacks instead of 5. That first Noxious Fumes, it triggers with 4 poison on turn 1 instead of 2. This relic is an incredible early game accelerator. Twisted Funnel. At the start of each combat, apply 4 poison to all enemies. Free poison on everything before you even play a card. In mob fights, this is incredible. Every enemy is already poisoned. Combined with Noxious Fumes, enemies are taking damage from the very first turn. This relic practically wins fights by itself in the late game. Some additional beginner tips. 1. Prioritize finding Noxious Fumes above almost everything else. It's your engine. 2. Don't skip block cards. Your whole strategy needs time to work. A dead silent doesn't win anything. 3. Watch out for enemies with the Artifact status effect. Artifact absorbs 1 debuff, which means your first poison application gets blocked. Apply a weak poison or a different debuff first to strip the artifact, then hit them with the real stuff. 4. Don't overload on poison cards. Once you have Noxious Fumes and 2 or 3 other poison applicators, the rest of your picks should be block, draw, and survivability cards.
Okay, now we're talking. If poison is patient strategy, the Shiv build is absolute chaos, and I mean that in the best possible way. The idea is simple. You generate a ton of Shivs, those 0-cost attack cards, and you throw them at your enemy's face until they stop moving. Each Shiv only deals 4 damage. That sounds pathetic, but when you're playing 6, 8, 10 Shivs in a single turn, that's 24 to 40 damage for essentially 0 energy. And once you start buffing each individual Shiv, the numbers get absolutely out of hand. The key insight to understand is this: Shivs are not your energy cards, they're your bonus cards. You use your energy on cards that generate Shivs, and then those Shivs cost nothing to play. The core cards. Leading Strike, a 1 energy attack that deals 7 damage and adds a Shiv to your hand. Play this, you get 8 damage and a Shiv for later. This is one of the best early picks for a Shiv build. Cloak and Dagger, 1 energy skill, gain 6 block and add a Shiv to your hand. This is perfect because it solves 2 problems at once. You're building block and generating Shivs, defense and offense in 1 card. Accuracy, 1 energy power. Each Shiv you play deals 4 additional damage. This single card transforms Shivs from cute little 4 damage tickles into 8 damage hits. Upgrade accuracy and it becomes 6 bonus damage per Shiv. Blade Dance, 1 energy skill, now with Exhaust in STS2. Add 3 Shivs to your hand. 3 Shivs for 1 energy. With even 1 accuracy on the board, that's 24 damage for 1 energy. Upgraded, it adds 4 Shivs. This is a cornerstone card for Shiv generation. Infinite Blades, a power card. At the start of each turn, add a Shiv to your hand. 1 free Shiv every single turn.
forever. It adds up faster than you think. Upgrade it to innate and it shows up in your opening hand on turn 1, guaranteed.
Now, here are some cards that are not part of the core build, but are great to have if you encounter them. Fan of Knives. 2 energy, add 4 Shivs to your hand. A big energy investment, but the key thing here is that your Shivs now hit all enemies. This is especially great against groups of mobs. Knife Trap. This card plays every Shiv currently in your exhaust pile. Since Shivs exhaust naturally, your exhaust pile fills up fast. Mid to late game, playing Knife Trap and triggering 15 or 20 Shivs at once is absolutely devastating. Finisher. An attack that deals 6 damage for each attack you've already played this turn. In a Shiv build where you might play 8 to 12 attacks in a turn, Finisher as the last card you play can deal 50 or 60 damage in one hit. Okay, now let's look at some relics that truly make this build shine. Ninja Scroll. At the start of each combat, add 3 Shivs to your hand. 3 free Shivs before you even play a card. This is the dream. It's like a free blade dance every single fight. With Accuracy Live, those 3 Shivs are immediately 27 damage for 0 energy. Helical Dart. Whenever you play a Shiv, gain 1 Dexterity this turn. Dexterity adds bonus block to every block card you play. In a turn where you play 6 Shivs, you're suddenly at 6 Dexterity, meaning every block card you play afterward is giving you a ton of extra shield. This relic elegantly solves Shiv build's greatest weakness, getting hit while you're busy throwing knives. Kusariga Gama. Every time you play 3 attacks in a single turn, deals 6 damage to a random enemy. Since you are almost always playing more than 3 attacks in a Shiv turn, this relic just deals bonus damage automatically in the background. It's background noise that adds up to a symphony.
Okay, here are some beginner tips for the Shiv build. 1. Upgrade accuracy first, always. It buffs every single Shiv you play for the rest of the run. 2. Don't neglect block cards just because you're going offensive. Cards like Cloak and Dagger, Afterimage, and Blur keep you alive long enough to execute your turns. 3. Watch out for high block enemies. Certain enemies stack massive block every turn. Your shins tickle them without Expose clearing their shield. Keep at least 1 Expose in your deck for this reason. 4. Hand size matters. You're capped at 10 cards. If you have 3 Blade Dances and Ninja Scroll firing at once, you can overflow your hand and lose Shivs. Plan your turn order. 5. Thorn enemies. Enemies that deal damage back to you whenever you attack are a nightmare for Shiv builds. If you're about to hit a Thorn enemy with 15 Shivs, you're also taking 15 hits of chip damage back. Thin your offense or find another kill method. Alright, let's bring it all together. The Silent is a character who rewards you for thinking about your deck as a system. Every card is a gear, and your job is to make sure all the gears are turning smoothly every single turn. If you're a complete beginner, start with Poison. It's forgiving, it's consistent, and it teaches you how to think about the Silent's tempo. Apply Noxious Fumes, stack Deadly Poison, survive early, and let the damage do the work. Once you're comfortable, try the Shiv build. It's faster, flashier, and incredibly rewarding once you get the rhythm down. Get accuracy on the board early, generate Shivs constantly, and save Finisher for the big lethal turn. And as you play more runs, you'll naturally start recognizing when Sly cards are showing up and augmenting your gameplay. That's when the real magic of the Silent unlocks, when you're combining all 3 styles into something uniquely yours.
That's right, and here are a few last tips to take into every run. 1. Always have a way to block. The Silent has no healing relic like the Ironclad. Every hit you take is permanent. Defense is not optional. 2. Keep your deck lean. Aim for 15 to 25 cards maximum. The smaller your deck, the more consistently you draw your powerful cards. 3. Draw is king. Cards like Adrenaline, Acrobatics, and Prepared keep your engine going. Never underestimate a card that lets you see more of your deck. 4. Don't force an archetype. If noxious fumes never shows up, don't cling to a half-baked poison build. Pivot. The Spire rewards flexibility.
Absolutely. And if you are totally new to the game, you might want to check our Ultimate Beginner's Guide to STS2. That first run win with the Silent is going to feel incredible. The moment it clicks, when you're watching an enemy melt from 30 poison stacks while you hide behind 100 block, or when you play 12 Shivs in one turn and delete a boss, you're going to understand exactly why so many people love this character. And we want to be there when it happens. If this guide helped you, please leave a like. It genuinely helps the channel and means the world to us. Subscribe so you don't miss our deep dives into each act, the best boss strategies, and the guides for the other characters coming very soon. And if you've got questions, drop them in the comments. We read everything. I'm Tiger.
And I am Tigress.
And we'll see you in the next one.